Okay, this is part 3 of corned beef. The meat has chilled, as you can see, and it's firmed up. It's not jiggly anymore. So we're going to take it out. It's nice and stiff. Okay, now before I get started, I want to explain something. I took some of the water, the boiling water from the vegetables, and I put in here. There's a little bit in here just to keep some moisture in, so that when I glaze this, it doesn't dry out the meat. So I'm gonna do is slice it. As you can see, the meat has firmed up, and I can slice it thin as I want. If you happen to have cooked this a really long time and the meat's falling apart, you might want to cook a little thicker. As you can see, this meat's a little bit firmer than what I normally have, so now I can cut it thinner, okay? But if you find that if you cut and it just falls apart, then you're going to want to cut it a little thicker, okay? So that it doesn't fall apart as much. It at least keeps its shape. So this is fairly firm. I normally have it softer than this. So as you can see, even though the 2.5 hours of cooking was adequate, it made it tender, as you could see earlier in the earlier video. That I could put a chopstick through it. With it being cold now, you can see it has firmed up. Okay, but it's not going to be a problem because once we heat it up again, it'll turn tender again. Okay. So, and slicing it thinner than normal would be, if you have a really tough piece of meat, then you would just cut it thinner. Okay. So this is about 1/4 inch. Okay. You can cut it thinner. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it out in a shingle pattern. Okay. As you can see, I cut it at a bias so that it would make bigger pieces. Okay. I'm going to layer it out. Okay. Because I want to expose much as the meat surface as possible. Okay. And I'm trying to keep all the fat. You see that one layer of fat all on, like, on the top part, because what's going to happen is when I caramelize this, the fat will melt and then soak down into the meat. Okay. Now, of course, if you got quite a bit of meat, then you can always save some for corned beef sandwiches later on. I mean, it's fine just as it is if you want just corned beef sandwiches. But we're doing this for dinner for glaze. So naturally, the meat goes pretty fast in a glaze situation. Okay, so I want to bring this up. Okay, bring this up. Okay. Okay, here's the glaze, and all it is 1 part sugar and 1 part mustard. Doesn't matter if you use half a cup of sugar, then use half a cup of mustard, or vice versa. 1 cup of sugar, 1 cup of mustard. Just whatever it is. Okay, so equal parts. Okay, and the mustard doesn't matter. I'm using spicy brown mustard. You could use Grey Poupon, whatever. Okay, so that's your personal preference. So all I'm going to do is squeeze about an equal amount of, and if you're not sure, just put some in and then mix it up. Okay. If you end up with more mustard, just add more sugar. Okay. And so what's going to happen is it's going to get the sugar will melt into the mustard, and you get a little thicker. Okay. And like I said, if you want it sweeter, just add more sugar. But usually half is good enough. You don't want it too sweet, then it gets too syrupy. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is take a spoon. Okay. Okay. Rid of that. Okay, as you can see, this meat's layered out. All the fat's on the top side. And we'll just give this a good stir. Okay, so you can see the consistency. Okay, now I'm just gonna pour it over the meat. And don't worry about putting too much, though you don't want it drowning. I mean, you know, it's just enough to glaze the top. And usually I always end up with not enough sauce. So I end up spreading it around like this. That's fine. Okay. The main thing is you get it up on the top, okay? And you find that as you make this recipe, you kind of want to add more and more. Well, that's up to you, okay? And you particularly look for the ends like here, like right here, because it has the most glaze on it. Okay, so as you can see, it's all nice and covered. Okay, and spread out. You don't want any exposed meat because it'll dry it out and get hard. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to put it in broil in the oven at least 350. You can go higher. I would recommend broiling. It's just that you got to watch it. 3 to 8 minutes at the most. You're gonna have to watch it. What's gonna do is you're gonna count. You're gonna put it in the broiler on the higher side. Let the glaze melt and caramelize. What's gonna happen is you're gonna see bubbling, and it's gonna turn browner. It's gonna turn darker. But you want to stop it just at the point where the tips start burning. You don't want to go past that. You don't want to undercook it, because what happens is there's crystals in the sugar. The sugar's still crystals right now, and what's going to happen is when you eat it, you'll taste the crystals, and it adds a undesired texture to it. So you want to caramelize this enough to melt all those sugar crystals, and the way you can tell is these little tips will get burned spots, and it'll be all hot and bubbly. So at that point, take it out immediately, and then let it cool for about a couple minutes, and then go ahead and serve. Your vegetables, all you have to do is take it, plate it, pull it out of the pot. The pot's boiling right now, and just put it out. Arrange the vegetables in a larger platter, and with the carrots, the cabbage, all separate. You have everything separate because people that way they can choose which items they want. Okay.